So if we were going to review real quick, when solving a quadratic equation or graphing a function, we know that there is going to be no real solutions in two contexts when we're graphing this puppy. And our function looks like this. What's the key here? And the next context will be with radicals. And of course, what we figured out is that anytime there's a negative inside the radical, that's called the radicand. And it can be anything. It doesn't matter what the number is. I'm just saying 4 as an example, but the key is the negative. So today we're going to look through two methods of solving. We've already previously done a problem that looks similar to this, where we had x plus 3 quantity squared equaled -5. That would just be an example. And what we did was take the square root of both sides and dealt with that inside. It's going to be exactly what we're doing today, except we're going to do some steps before that when we complete the square, or we're going to do setting it up using the quadratic formula. So let's first off complete the square. So we are going to isolate the constant. So we're going to subtract 28 from both sides. When you rewrite and bring stuff down on the left, it would be wise of you to leave a space like I just did, because we're going to add a missing term. And that missing term clearly is we take this, divide it by 2, and square it. That can be a mental exercise, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So we get x plus 2 quantity squared. Where'd that come from? You square root this, bink! You square root this, bink! And always take this operation. If it's a minus, it would be a minus there. And the other side is no big whoop. -24. So now we square root. At this stage, do not forget plus or minus. If you forget, I punch you in the neck. All right, so now we can bring down the radicand, except the square. And over here, I can simplify at the exact same time. So I'm just going to look at my -24 just over on the side here. And I'm going to factor things. 4 times 6, 2 times 2, 2 times 3. And notice the negative is going to come out as an I. So, recollecting, any pairs will come out. Anything not pair will stay in. And the I, of course, will be out there, outside. Don't forget the plus or minus. So my last step is to subtract 2 from both sides to get -2 plus or minus 2 radical 6 times I. Folks, this is why it's called complex numbers, because oftentimes your answers look very complex. On the notes here, please delete bloop, 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 the first one there. I got a little too excited and copied and pasted from somewhere else. So we are going to isolate the constant. Leave a little space. Bring over the -40. Our missing term is 9. And of course, x plus 3 squared is correct. So the left will simplify, or excuse me, factor out in that manner. And we simplify this to get -31. And of course, we square root. Don't forget the plus or minus. Get punched in the neck if you don't.
What happened to the 6?
All right, now let's continue. X plus 3 equals plus or minus radical 31. Notice there's nothing to simplify. 31's prime, so we can't even factor it.
Why isn't it negative anymore?
Oh, I. Thank you. So the negative comes out with the I. Now subtract 3 from both sides, so it's -3 plus or minus radical 31 I. All right, so when you commit to the answer, put a ring around it. That applies to most of life. All right, so now let's attack, kill, destroy. Example B. So we're going to solve this equation by using the quadratic formula. And if you recall,
The most famous.
x equals -b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all all over 2a. Okay, so let's identify. First off, my a is 1, my b is positive 4, and my c is 28. So let's go ahead and substitute in x equals negative b. So negative 4. Now we say plus or minus radical. And now I'm going to square the b, or just write it out. 4 squared minus 4 times a times c. So my a is 1, my c is 28, all over 2 times 1. All right, so now that we have this set up, let's go ahead and attack. We've got negative 4 plus or minus. Here we get 16 minus 90. Oh, excuse me, try that again. That would be 112 minus 112. Radical over that, all over 2. So I'm going to go sideways so I don't run out of space. Now I'm going to combine the inside of the radicals, so the radicand, negative 4 plus or minus, negative 96 all over 2. And don't forget that when we are factoring the negative 96, I'm going to pull out an I, and then also pull out, let's see, a 2 and a 48. Which is a 4 and 12, 4 and 3. And remember the important part here, the repeats. You don't have to factor all the way. The moment you find a repeat is when that comes out. So negative 4 plus or minus, bring out a 4. And notice what stays in. 3 times 2 times I, or actually the I is out now. So radical 6. And the I is outside, all over the 2. And now dividing by 2, remember to divide by 2, I have to divide both terms by 2. So this 4, negative 4, and this positive 4, the 6 does not, because it's inside a radical. So negative 2 plus or minus 2 radical 6, I. And if we compare that to our previous problem, Ciao. Es lo mismo. So in this case, my A is 2, my B is positive 3, and my C is 4. So x equals negative B plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac. Don't forget the radical goes all the way across. All over 2a. So let's continue. Negative 3 plus or minus 9 minus 32, because 4 times 2 is 8 times 4 is 32, all over 4. And then from here, we got plus or minus negative 23. Did you see that movie?
Dolph.
All right, and then we simplify. Notice in this stage, I can split and put the plus or minus, and I'm going to put my radical 23 inside. What comes out? The I.